Greetings, my friend and follower. We are in this video. We are still continuing with our topic that we started, presentation skills. And in this video, particularly, we are starting looking at developing and improving your presentation skills. So, from this video and the preceding videos, we are going to be handling this in stages that I'm going to tell you, and we shall be looking at it like that. So one thing you need to know is that when it comes to presentation skills, you don't have to have perfect spoken English to give a very effective presentation. In fact, even native speakers find presenting difficult. So there is a lot more to presenting than knowing the language well. So among the key aspects of successful oral presentations are having a firm idea of what your audience already knows, careful presentation and rehearsal, making clear the structure of your talk, and dealing effectively with questions. So the materials are all the things you're going to look at in this study guide have been designed to support all people, career people, students, to guide them as they walk through the various stages of preparing, rehearsing, and delivering a presentation. So it is going to take the form of 5 checklists on different aspects of presenting. So what I mean is that you're going to look at the different aspects of presenting in a form of 5 checklists. Like, we are going to look at each of them with a checklist of items that we shall be considering under that aspect. So for example, when you look at the first aspect, which is planning or choosing a topic, under this aspect you are going to have a checklist which will involve preparing a presentation using visual aids, handouts and notes, and then signposts and language signals. So those are the 5 aspects, 5 checklists we're going to be looking at under that aspect of planning and choosing a topic. And when it comes to rehearsal, is the second aspect. Then we shall also look at a checklist of items under that on non-verbal communication. On non-verbal communication. So apart from the obvious benefits of practicing, rehearsing allows you time. It allows you to time your presentation. Like, it tends to take about 20% longer to talk live to an audience than in the rehearsal. So we will strongly recommend you record yourself as you practice giving your presentation, so that you can replay and listen carefully to what you said and how you said it. And if you can ask someone else to listen to it and tell you where they didn't understand, so much the better. So note that the points you need to improve, like, as you're listening, you note the points you need to improve, record yourself again, and then the more often you can practice and reflect on your performance, the more polished the final result will be. So that's all about rehearsing. All I can tell you currently about rehearsing. So then the next and final aspect is giving the presentation. So those are the different aspects we're going to look at. So when it comes to giving the presentation, at the end of your presentation, the audience will ask questions and raise points for discussion. So think about the probable questions and discussion points before you give the presentation. And in preparing your talk, you will need to consider the following items you're going to look at. So we shall also look at the question part, whereby because at the end of the presentation you expect to receive questions. Even sometimes people can raise questions during the presentation. So you need to remember to repeat or summarize each question in order to make sure you and the audience have got it right, and to give yourself a little longer to think about your answer. So those are the different aspects we're going to look at in this study, that is developing your skills and developing and improving your presentation skills. So we've started with the first aspect, which includes preparing a presentation. So what do you need to know about preparing a presentation? So I'm going to give you the different steps you can consider when you're preparing a presentation. So step number one, you need to think about the context of the presentation. So step number one, what you know that is step number one is the foundation to your business presentation. So you need to consider the goal, the audience, and then past experience. So this first step is essential for a successful presentation, for a successful business presentation, because it sets the foundation for the rest of your preparation. So you need to ask yourself, what exactly is it that you want to achieve with this presentation? In other words, what is the goal for your presentation? What do you want to communicate, and how do you want the audience to react or to take action? And then in addition to this, you need to consider your audience. So just like we argued in the previous video that great speakers focus on the audience. So you need to know how many people you'll be presenting to. Do you know the audience personally, or are they unknown to you? What will they be expecting? And are there any cultural differences you need to be aware of? Because cultural difference is something very crucial when it comes to presentations. Like different cultures use different words, there are different ways they perceive things. So you need to have some clue before you actually about your audience, before you actually present to them. And then you need to understand for what reasons are they listening to your business presentation. So things like that are key. And then lastly, if you have given business presentations in English before, you need to reflect on your experience with those presentations. What were your main challenges, and how will you face them this time round, and what improvements you need to make? So such things are very crucial to consider at the first step of your presentation preparation. Then step number two is deciding on your topic. So you need to think carefully about the main point or points that you want to communicate. You should decide, you should be able to write this clearly in 1 or 2 sentences. So sometimes you may find that you may receive you as like the person who asks you to present will give you the subject or the topic to discuss, but you should always be in position to decide on your topics if let's say you're not given any. Then third step is the structure the content. You need to structure the content of your presentation. So most people begin with an unordered collection of ideas, and then they put them into sequence. So the having finished with that, then you need to decide on the relative weight of each section of the talk. Like someone will start with it is normally very important to arrange your points or ideas in a logical sequence, something like that. Then the fourth step is you need to think of ways of catching the listener's attention or interest. Like let's say by giving examples, by using impressive statistics, or by using interesting quotations. You should look for ways of getting your audience's attention to you at each point. Then the fifth step, you should know that it is useful to rough draft visual aids at this stage, because they can help you make the sequence of your points more clear and logical. So you need to think about whether some information should be put into handouts or not. So you need to consider the visual aids that you will be using throughout your presentation. Then sixth step is you need to check the overall length and the relative weight of sections. Like A little too short is better than a little, and then is better than even a little too long, because as a rough guide, allow about 1 minute for every 100 words, plus time if necessary for changing transparencies. Like for example, one page of one A4 page that is double spaced can take about 3 minutes of speaking time. So you need to be careful, though you need to use to make it to be okay very fast, to be fast, but you don't need to be you don't need to be very fast. You just need to be moderate, such that because when you're very fast, you leave your audience behind, and if someone senses that you're very fast and they can hardly think about what you're saying before you go to another thing, then they will just give up on listening to you. You imagine you're presenting, someone is presenting, and then they are very fast. You don't have time to actually uh, think about what they have said, and then they have rushed to another thing. So that way you get annoyed. You get annoyed, like you get biased, and then you start ignoring what this person is saying. So you need to be careful with that. As you're trying to make your speak short, try to make to be reasonable, so that you're not very fast and you're not very slow, just moderate. As we'll be looking at public speaking, we shall look at how you can manage your speaking rate. So then the seventh step is you need to finish preparation of visual aids. Like if you are using PowerPoint data projection, slides on transparency are a useful backup in case of last minute technical problem. Like you need to prepare for taking technical problems, because in the place you're presenting from, never know, we may have power challenges, any challenges can happen. So it is always better you prepare in advance. Maybe you need to have handouts. If you want them, you should make hard copies of your presentation notes, such that in case of anything, you're just good to continue with your presentation. Then ninth step, you need to plan the exact words you use for the opening, the transition points, and the conclusions. So you need to practice them again and again. And if you're anxious, write on cards the introductory and concluding sentences. What you have to know is that good introductory sentences and concluding sentences can attract, like when it comes to introduction, you may get quotations. You may start with quotations, like you get ways that like you try to be original, and you try to be different from other presenters or from other presentations by changing the way you introduce, like you begin your introduction. Because now when you start your introduction with maybe quotes, sayings, it attracts your audience's attention immediately, something like that, and it gives you credibility, and people give you ears. You get waiting to see what comes next. Then the 10th step is rehearse your presentation. So you need to rehearse your presentation as often as necessary, and you do not need to omit this step. You need to practice. So you can practice alone, or you can ask a friend or colleagues to listen to you as you practice. And then you need to know that with practice you will become more fluent and at ease. Like the more practice you make, you get used to the speech, so you become fluent and at ease, because you're confident, you're fluent with the what, with the speech, so you're not tensed. So you need to make sure you speak simply, but in an academic, non-conversational style. Project your voice across the room, and if you find that like you need to project your voice across the room, you need to balance your voice so that you're not shouting, like talking at the top of your voice, but talking just with enough with a voice that is just loud enough, even for the person at the back to hear. Because if the person at the people at the back are not hearing, they will just stop listening to you. You imagine you're on a parade, and then someone is talking, and then at the back you can't hear them. So what you have to do, you just have to to leave it, you just give up that you're not hearing and you let it be. So you need to be careful as you're projecting your voice, so that that it is just enough for everyone in the room to hear you. So you find this slows your speech, like projecting your voice. You find that it slows your speech, but check the time carefully and make adjustments if necessary, and mark a time reference at 1 or 2 points in the presentation, such that you keep your presentation on time. Then the 11th step is you need to think about the questions the audience may want to ask you. Plan how you will answer them. So it is at that stage that you look at the possible questions according to the topic you're discussing. Look at the possible questions that may rise from that topic and then prepare answers for them. In that, if someone in the audience as you're presenting fires you that question, you're just ready to answer it because you prepared for it. You already have the answer for it. So you need to prepare for those questions. And maybe in case someone asks you a question that you didn't prepare for, it's not wrong. It's not, still it is, there is nothing wrong with that. You can't exhaust all the questions, but as we continue with this study, we shall come at a point where we shall look at how you can handle such questions that raise unexpectedly. Then step 12, which is the final step on this preparation stage, is on the day of your presentation, be calm and organized. If you are unfamiliar with the location, go beforehand to plan where you will stand and where you will put your papers, and to see how the projection works, because you may go somewhere, it is your first time, you've not given time to go there before the presentation to see how these things work, and then you get there and you find that the projector these people use is far more different than the one you use, and then you get embarrassed in front of the audience. You ask you're fighting with the projector to make it work, which can make you tense and spoil the whole thing if you're not careful. So you need to give an allowance for such things by going to that location beforehand and get to know all that. So you need to arrive in good time for your presentation, and remember to take all your visual aids, notes and papers with you. And if you feel nervous, do not worry, that's normal. Breathe slowly and deeply for a few minutes beforehand, and try to relax the muscles of your face, mouth and neck. So taking a deep breath helps you in many ways. It helps you to reduce the tension, to relax the muscles of the face and the mouth and the neck, such that you don't just seem stressed on entering the presentation room. And so this will make you look relaxed and will improve the quality of your voice. So you need to then remind yourself how well you're prepared. You need to remind yourself how well prepared you are, and such that it builds your confidence, and enjoy it. And then concentrate not on yourself or your notes, but on the audience and making clear to them what you have to say. So you need to be careful with all that. And if you practice these steps during your preparation stage, I'm sure you'll come up with a good presentation. Thank you for watching. If it has been helpful for you, can like, share with friends, and then subscribe to support my channel, and then to be updated in case of any other content that is posted. Thank you. Be blessed.